Have you heard the wild stories from 2025 about survivors of U.S. nuclear tests in Nevada? Claims are swirling online about a massive government cover-up, hiding the existence of mutant animals. It sounds like something straight out of a movie, but what's the real story? Today, we're going deep into the Nevada desert to separate the hard facts from the radioactive fiction. Let's travel back in time. From 1951 to 1992, the Nevada test site, just a stone's throw from Las Vegas, was the heart of America's nuclear ambitions. Over 900 nuclear tests were conducted here. 100 of those were atmospheric, meaning they exploded above ground, sending radioactive clouds, or fallout, drifting across the country. This was the Cold War, and the priority was national security, not necessarily public safety. The government at the time told everyone not to worry. They called the tests harmless, and the mushroom clouds were even marketed as a tourist attraction. People would gather in Las Vegas for atomic cocktails and watch the sky light up. But for the people living downwind in Nevada, Utah, and Arizona, it was a different story. They were breathing in radioactive particles, their food and water were contaminated, and they had no idea of the danger. These communities became known as downwinders. So, where did these mutant animal stories come from? It's a blend of real, tragic history and some very compelling urban legends. The idea of radiation creating monsters is a staple of pop culture. Think of the video game series Fallout*, which is set in a post-apocalyptic Nevada crawling with mutated creatures. Or classic sci-fi movies where a bit of radiation turns a normal bug into a giant city-destroying monster. This imagery is powerful and has seeped into our collective consciousness. As we moved into 2025, there was a renewed focus on this part of our history. Why? Because discussions about potentially resuming nuclear testing have resurfaced. And advocacy groups for downwinders and atomic veterans, the soldiers who participated in the tests, have become more vocal, demanding recognition and compensation. This renewed attention has also dredged up some of the more sensational and less proven claims. Now, let's be clear about what radiation does to living things. Ionizing radiation is incredibly damaging. It can tear through DNA, causing mutations in cells. In humans, this is what leads to the tragic clusters of cancers, leukemia, thyroid cancer, and others that have plagued downwinder communities for generations. Scientists have also studied the effects on animals in contaminated areas, both in Nevada and places like Chernobyl. They have observed some genuinely startling things. For example, studies on barn swallows in Chernobyl have shown higher rates of physical abnormalities, like misshapen beaks and asymmetrical tail feathers. They've also found genetic damage and reduced fertility. In Nevada, researchers have documented changes in the genetic makeup of pocket gophers and lizards living in the most radioactive zones. These are mutations, but they're happening at a cellular, genetic level. They often result in animals that are weaker, less likely to survive, or unable to reproduce. What scientists have not found are the kinds of monsters we see in fiction. There are no two-headed coyotes, no giant radioactive scorpions roaming the desert. The reality of radiation's impact is far more subtle, and honestly, far more tragic. It's not about creating super creatures, it's about causing sickness, suffering, and a slow, invisible decay within an ecosystem. An animal born with a severe, visible mutation is highly unlikely to survive in the wild. It wouldn't be able to compete for food or evade predators. So, the idea of a stable population of mutant animals just doesn't hold up biologically. So why do these stories persist? Part of it is a deep-seated mistrust of the government, and for good reason. For decades, the government did cover up the dangers of fallout. They lied to the public. They conducted experiments on soldiers without their full consent. The official narrative was that everything was safe, while people were getting sick and dying. This history of secrecy creates fertile ground for conspiracy theories. When you know the government has lied before, it's easier to believe they're hiding something else. Something bigger, like a secret menagerie of mutated animals. The personal stories of survivors are absolutely heartbreaking. They talk about their friends, family members, and neighbors all getting sick around the same time. They remember playing in radioactive dust as kids, thinking it was just snow. One survivor might recall seeing a deformed calf born on their farm, and another might remember seeing animals with strange tumors. Over time, these individual, isolated memories can get woven together into a larger narrative, in an attempt to make sense of the senseless tragedy they've endured. It's human nature to look for explanations, and sometimes, the most dramatic explanation is the one that sticks. Let's look at the official response. In 1990, the U.S. government passed the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act, or RECA. This was a landmark piece of legislation. It was the government's first real, tangible admission that the nuclear testing program had harmed its own citizens. The act provides lump sum payments to eligible downwinders, uranium miners, and test site workers. But many critics say it's not enough. The compensation amounts are often insufficient to cover a lifetime of medical bills, and the eligibility criteria are incredibly strict. Many affected counties and individuals are left out, still fighting for recognition. This feeling of being ignored and abandoned by the government only adds fuel to the fire of suspicion and mistrust. The environmental impact at the Nevada National Security Site is also very real and very serious. It's one of the most radioactively contaminated places on Earth. Plutonium, a key component of nuclear weapons with a half-life of 24,000 years, is present in the soil. The government spends billions of dollars on long-term stewardship, monitoring the groundwater and soil to ensure the contamination doesn't spread. It's a permanent scar on the landscape, a toxic legacy that will outlast our civilization. So, to bring it all back to the mutant animal claims of 2025, is there a government cover-up hiding mutated wildlife? All credible evidence says no. There are no declassified documents, no whistleblower testimonies, no scientific papers that support this idea. What there is a real, documented history of government lies, a devastating public health crisis, and a profound environmental disaster. The stories of mutant animals are a symptom of that real trauma. They are a metaphor for the unnatural and monstrous damage inflicted upon the people in the land of the American West. The truth is that the real story is horrifying enough without adding sci-fi monsters. The real monsters weren't two-headed coyotes, but the unseen particles of radiation in the air and the water. The real cover-up wasn't about hiding strange creatures, but about hiding the truth from citizens who trusted their government to protect them. The legacy of the Nevada test site is a somber reminder of the human cost of the nuclear age. It's a story of sickness, of loss, and of a multi-generational fight for justice that continues to this day. So next time you see a sensational headline about mutant animals in the Nevada desert, remember the real people and the real history behind the myth. Remember the downwinders and the atomic veterans. Their stories deserve to be heard, not for their sensationalism, but for their profound and human truth. Thanks for watching. If you found this video informative, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that shape our world. We'll see you in the next one.